Welcome to 18IT1046, Beginning Android. In this lecture, we're going to take a look at the syllabus, and we're going to see what the expectations are this semester, what we're going to do this semester, and how to coordinate our activities. First of all, this is an online course, and so many of the lectures will be pre-recorded, as this one is, and you can watch it at a time that's convenient for you. Now, we do still have a schedule, which is important to note. So online doesn't mean wait until the end of the semester and watch all the videos. We will have videos assigned for each week, and then we'll have things that are due each week, like our quizzes. If we don't do that, it will be too easy to let work snowball quickly. So it's important that we try to stay on schedule. Now, even though it is an online course, I am definitely available to meet with you and would like to meet with every one of you at least one time this semester. More would be great, but at least one time is when I'd like to meet with everybody. So by meeting, we can meet either in person. I have an in-person class that meets on campus on Thursdays, or via Google Hangout. But keep that in mind. At some point, I'd like to meet with you and discuss your project, discuss your status, so on and so forth. So it's a virtual class, but a virtual class that will definitely have a lot of interaction as well. So what are the office hours? Well, because it's a virtual class, we'll schedule a time that works for both you and me. As I mentioned, Thursdays I'm on campus and we'll be more than happy to meet with you in person. Otherwise, we'll just schedule a time when we can set an appointment and get together. Okay, what do we want to do in this course? Well, definitely we want to have fun. The Android development, mobile development in general, is an idea that is gaining popularity and has gained popularity over the last several years. It is a real shift in how we think about computing. Now, I started teaching at UC in the 2000-2001 school year, and I had somebody in my course back then who got his original degree in computer science from UC back in the 70s. And in the early 70s at that, I think it was something like 1972, which now seems long, long, long ago, and wasn't as long ago, about 14 years ago. But nonetheless, I asked him why he was taking the class from me, and he said that what he learned in the 70s wasn't as applicable as it is today. I'm sorry, what he learned in the 70s didn't apply as much today, and he wanted to refresh himself a little bit. And I asked him what is the biggest unexpected change that he had seen from the 70s until 2001. And his answer was the PC. He said he never saw that coming. Now that was 14 years ago. If we look now, if we look today, 13, 14 years ago, if we look at today, if I had to answer the question, what was the biggest change in computing that I didn't see coming? I would say that it is wireless. Wireless everything. Now even phones can charge wirelessly. And the idea that you always have a computer, you always have information with you. Even more than that, the concept that many times you go to your mobile phone first before you even go to a standard computer to look something up. There was an analysis, and I don't recall the exact situation, but there was an analysis where there was some popular show on television, and suddenly there were a bunch of searches for something that they mentioned on this show. But what's funny is that the majority of the searches came from mobile devices, not traditional PCs. Well, okay, if you're watching television, you're probably at home, not definitely, but you're probably at home. So why would you use your mobile phone instead of your PC? And this probably sounds kind of obvious now. It didn't so much at the time, but a lot of times it's just more convenient to grab your phone and look something up than to walk over to a PC and look something up there. So we're seeing a real shift in thinking. And that's driven a lot of demand for this course and courses like it, and that's why I'm glad to see you here. I think that all of you will have a significant contribution to this course, and I look forward to seeing that contribution, and I also hope that you get a lot out of the course. So that's my objective for you and for me. Okay, so lots of things happening, and I think we still have many, many more innovations to go in this field of mobile development. We're starting to see things like bring your own device. There were, if you go back years ago, there used to be a call center downtown for Delta Airlines, and that call center no longer exists. And I was talking to somebody about it because I used to live downtown. I used to live across the street from the call center, and I was talking to somebody about it, and they said, "Well, where did the call center go?" And my first answer is, probably a lot of the people who were in that call center, who drove downtown to be in the call center, probably a lot of them just do it from home now, I would imagine. But then when I thought more, I thought, when's the last time I had to call that call center? And honestly, it's been a very long time. It's been a very long time since I had to call that call center. What have my needs changed? Not really. My needs haven't really changed. It's just I have a different way of getting the information that I used to get from that call center. An example: I was heading to London a couple of years ago, and the quick we know unfortunately we no longer have a direct flight to London. We used to, but not anymore. And the quickest way to get from Cincinnati to London is to go through Boston. It's a very short layover, and the incoming Cincinnati flight is two gates away from the outgoing Heathrow flight. So you basically get off one plane, walk about 50 feet, get on another plane, and the connection's about 42 minutes long. It's very close. So I'd booked that, and suddenly the Cincinnati flight was an hour and a half delayed. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to make a 42-minute connection if I'm starting an hour and a half delayed. So years ago, what I would do is probably pick up a help phone and call into the call center and say, hey, what can you do for me? And you might be thinking to yourself, oh, okay, well, you can just go to a gate agent and ask for that as well. Well, instead, I had the Fly Delta app on my phone, and I thought, well, I'll see what other flights are available. I logged on, and a notification came up that told me that my outgoing flight was delayed, which I knew, and then I would not make my connection, which I also knew. And that's good, but that's not where the story ends. It said there is a flight leaving Cincinnati to Detroit which has been delayed, and you can take that flight, which is about to leave in 15 minutes. You can take that flight, connect in Detroit, have a similar layover, and get to Heathrow at the exact same time. Would you like to do that? And I chose accept, and there I was. So it actually knew that the Detroit flight in Cincinnati was about to leave in 15 minutes, and that it was itself 2 hours delayed. It knew all of this information, and it gave me an opportunity to change my plans at the spur of the moment and get on that flight, which is exactly what I did. And as a result, I ended up at Heathrow at the exact same time that I would have ended up had I taken that Boston flight, which was normally the quickest way to get to Heathrow. So there's an example where in the old days I would have called a call center, but instead I did something that we call bring your own device, where I was able to make some decisions with my own Android phone. With my own phone that I own, I was able to go ahead and change my flight, make some decisions right there on the fly, and then very quickly walk to the other gate, get on the plane, and go, all without interacting with someone in person. So these are the kind of opportunities that we're going to see. These are the kind of efficiencies and productivity improvements that we're going to see. What's the use of calling a call center and telling someone something and that person just types away when I can just do all the work myself very easily on my mobile phone? So, as we're thinking of ideas for projects, keep these things in mind. Okay, so our objective is to build our Android applications. And for that, we're going to need a few different things. We're going to need to know about the Android operating system. We'll need to know about the Android software development kit. We're going to need to know about the Android development toolkit. We're going to need to know about the Eclipse integrated development environment and the Java programming language. So there are a lot of ingredients that come together to build our Android application. And we will look at these ingredients in other lectures. So that's just a little start of it. We'll take a look at these ingredients in other lectures. Now, this is a very changing study, I guess we could say. This is a very much a study or a paradigm that's changing. A little history. I wrote the first Android class at UC in CECH. Actually, back then we were with Applied Science. I wrote that course and have taught it ever since. And the course material has changed dramatically in that time, even since the first time I taught it, which would have been about 4 years ago. The course has changed dramatically because the Android operating system has changed dramatically. So we might not have a rehearsed way to do everything in this class. There may be some times that you come to me with questions on something that perhaps I haven't dealt with before. And in that case, my recommendation will be to try to figure out what's wrong. I might not have the answer. It might be to try to figure out what's wrong. And that is a learning objective as well. A learning objective is, given not a lot of information about a problem, can you figure out how to solve it? So if you say, well, if at the end of this course you say, well, I didn't like the course because he didn't tell me how to do everything, or there were some things that went unanswered. Well, that's part of the point. Part of the point is, can you take limited information, draw conclusions from that, solve problems from that, or come up with workarounds from that limited information? Okay. So, prerequisites, intro to mobile development. If you haven't taken that, it's not the end of the world. It'd be good to have some experience with that. That's just a 1 credit hour course that I teach as well. If you haven't taken that before, though, no worries. Or if you're taking it the same semester as you're taking Beginning Android, that's just fine as well. So our grading, what we're going to do is we're going to have a quiz each week. And the quiz will cover the lecture from the previous week and any assigned reading material for the current week. The quizzes will be due on Thursday at 6. Lectures I will post no later than Monday night, but my goal is to get them all posted by Sunday. So that really gives you a good 4 days to have everything ready to go for the quiz. So weekly quizzes, once the deadline has passed, once the deadline of 6 o'clock on Thursday has passed, the quiz cannot be re-administered. Be very careful of this. And again, I urge you, don't procrastinate. Especially with online classes, this tends to be an issue. A lot of times, around 75% of the way through the semester, I get an email from someone that either says, wow, I know I messed up, I procrastinated, but can you go ahead and make all the previous quizzes available? And the answer is no. The answer is no, I cannot make them available. Or the other email that I periodically get, again, around that 3/4 mark through the semester or 2/3 mark through the semester is, well, this is an online class. I thought I could do it at my own pace. No, again, the answer to that is no. There's a lot of material we have to cover, and we have to cover it in a scheduled form, or it will be too easy to fall behind. The other thing is that we're going to have a group project, and it's fair to your group to know that you have been following the material on a regular basis. It would be unfair to have a group project and have somebody wait till the last minute to go through all the lectures and then start all the work. So we have to make sure that we all stay in sync. Another big reason is if I need to make any corrections to the course, if I figure out that maybe I discussed something that wasn't very clear, and I need to go back and discuss it again, which does periodically happen, I really need everybody to be at the same place in the course. If people are spread all out, some people ahead, some people behind, and I found out I made a mistake I need to correct for, then it becomes a bit of a hassle to get everybody coordinated together. So weekly quizzes will keep us on pace and keep us all on schedule together. We're going to have 3 individual assignments and a code review. Those will each be worth about 10% each of the final grade for a total of 40%. We'll have a midterm exam worth 20% and a final group project which is worth 20%. So the individual assignments I've made up and put on Blackboard for you to look at. The final project is something that you get to decide to do with your group, so you have a bit of leeway there. I've given some structure to it, but beyond that, it's up to you and how you choose to approach it. Grading, the typical grading scale. Okay, so 90 for an A, 80 for a B, 70 for a C, 60 for a D. Anything below that is an F. And just, in the interest of setting expectations properly, I typically don't curve. So that is where the grades will fall. Okay. Attendance, again, this is an online course, so I'm not going to take attendance or anything like that. It's just up to you to watch the recorded videos throughout the semester and be sure to do the quizzes by the deadline. And again, I stress again, once the quiz deadline has passed, I can't make the quiz available again for any reason. I want to make sure that everybody is treated fairly and everybody abides by the same deadline. So if you say, gosh, I was in a wreck, or gosh, I just procrastinated, I know it was my fault, but can you make the quiz available again? Sorry, no, I can't do that. Okay, lab time. We'll have office hours before every assignment is due. There will be 1 office hour time available 8 days before the assignments are due, and that's open. You can just show up. I'll schedule that to be when I'm on campus, so you can just show up. All questions are valid, and I encourage you to work with me, even if you have questions that are not related to the due project. If you just have questions you'd like to ask me, that's great. Show up for that open lab time. I'll also have lab time the day before a project is due, but for that I will request an appointment. I will request that you make an appointment with me. And to make an appointment, what I need from you I need an email 24 hours before the appointment lab time. And in that email, I need all the questions that you'd like me to answer and your work completed to date. And the reason for that is this. As we approach the due date, the questions get more complicated. People tend to get stuck on things. And there are right now 27 people enrolled in this class. So if 27 people have difficult questions, I need to make sure I can visit as many of those 27 people as possible. The way that I do that is I have to have some view into the future. I have to understand what the questions are. So if you set an appointment with me and you give me your questions in advance, then I will know what the questions are and I can prepare answers for you, and then I can visit more people. The other thing is with office hours right before a due date, what I want to avoid is somebody showing up saying, I haven't started yet. So that's why the day before it's due, when I have open office hours, I do request an appointment 24 hours in advance with your work completed to date to make sure that you have something that I can look at. If you do, our time will go much faster and I can visit a lot more people. Okay. There will be a midterm offered in the semester. It says quarter, sorry, should be semester. A midterm offered in the semester. It won't be exactly right in the middle of the semester. It will be closer to about, well, usually I put it right before the withdrawal deadline so that you can have some information and decide, if your grade is kind of on the edge. That will be one more big component of your grade to help you decide, do you want to continue with the course or do you wish to withdraw? Withdrawal deadline tends to be around the 2/3 mark in the semester, so typically we'll throw the exam there. There's a midterm, there's not a final. So this exam is kind of halfway between a midterm and a final. Okay, we talked about the weekly quiz. And one nice thing about the weekly quiz is that you get to write it. You have an opportunity to write the weekly quiz. After recorded lectures, you can go into Blackboard and fill out something called quiz question suggestions, and that is where you suggest questions for the quiz based on the lecture that we've just had. This week is no exception. There's going to be a quiz question suggestions available for this week where you can enter quiz questions from the syllabus. You can say, for example, you can make a question that says, when are quizzes due? And the answer would be Thursdays at 6 o'clock. You could make a question that would say, can I get an exception to a deadline in extenuating circumstances? And the answer is honestly no. So there will be a quiz next week based on the lecture that we're covering today. So why do we have quiz question suggestions? So quiz question suggestions is an opportunity for you to suggest quiz questions to me. You can suggest quiz questions to me. Okay? You don't have to, but it's to your benefit to take a few minutes and do this. And why is that? Well, there are 3 reasons. Number 1, if you do quiz question suggestions, if you fill out quiz question suggestions after you watch a lecture, and again, this will be on Blackboard, if you fill that out, then if you do most of the quiz question suggestions through the semester, I understand if you miss 1 or 2, but if you do most of them, I'll drop your lowest quiz grade. Okay, so it will help you out that way. You don't have to do quiz question suggestions, but it will certainly help your grade if you do. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, if you do quiz question suggestions, I will give you a list of your suggestions and everybody else's. And then I'm going to take that list and I'm going to make the quiz from that list of questions. So you'll have advance notice of what will be on the quiz. Now, if I don't get a lot of suggestions or I don't get a lot of good suggestions, I might throw in a few questions of my own. Or if I get a suggestion that's very similar to a quiz question that I already have, I might substitute it out. But by doing quiz question suggestions, you get an advanced list of questions that might be on the next quiz. That will help your grade significantly. Third, and most importantly, I have a degree from UC in horticulture. And in horticulture, we have to learn about names of plants. Okay? In horticulture, we have to learn about names of plants. And we have to know common name and Latin name and how to spell them. And we have to know attributes. When do they bloom? What's the fall color? Do they like dry soil? Do they like wet soil? We had to learn about 16 of these per week. I have a hard time remembering things. Generally, I have a hard time remembering things. But a professor told me the secret. And it worked. The secret is when you learn something, within 24 hours of learning it, go over your notes just once. Just go over your notes one time and rehearse it back to yourself just once. So when I was in horticulture, I took the bus then to work. What I would do is I would take my notebook with me, and on the bus ride, I would just review my notes one time. As soon as I did that, I found that my memory retention improved dramatically. The professor was absolutely right. My memory retention improved dramatically. So quiz question suggestions give you an opportunity to go over your notes within 24 hours of a lecture and just refresh it to yourself. And as long as you do that, you're going to find that your memory retention increases dramatically. Okay? So that's what the quiz question suggestions are for. Programming assignments. I mentioned we'll have 3 individual assignments and then 1 group assignment. The information for these assignments are on Blackboard. So if you go under the Assignments tab, you can see these assignments. Just one moment, and let me see if I can bring up. One quick second, I'm going to bring up the assignments in Blackboard, and we'll take a look at where they are and how to find the due dates. Okay. So I'm looking here at our course in Blackboard. Let me expand this a bit so we can see it better. And if you take a look under assignments, I have all of the assignments for the semester posted. So we have the introductions assignment, which hopefully you've done by the time you watch this video. Then we have our group project, and then we have code review for the group project. Those are due later in the semester. Then individual assignment 1, individual assignment 2, and individual assignment 3. So I might make a few tweaks to these as we go. There might be things that, oh gosh, we could cover that a little bit better. But the assignments for the semester are all here under the Assignments tab in Blackboard. So when are they due? The official calendar of record is under Tools and Communications, and then Calendar. Okay, so I'm going to go to the calendar, and I'm going to say View Month, and you can take a look at everything that is due this semester. So I haven't filled out all of the quiz dates, but the programming assignment dates I have filled out. So Sunday, which is the day I'm recording this, the introductory survey is due. Okay. Thursday, quiz question suggestions based on lecture material for today. That's due. Okay. Thursday the 16th, quiz 1 is due. That's a quiz based on the lecture material from this week that you're watching right now. And also, quiz question suggestions for quiz 2 is due. Okay? So each day on Thursday we'll have both a quiz and quiz question suggestions due. Now, our first individual assignment has a soft deadline of the 29th and a hard deadline of the 31st. So assignment 1, soft deadline of the 29th, hard deadline of the 31st. Okay? What do I mean by that? Well, generally, I don't so I want to make sure that every student is treated in an equal and fair manner. I don't want to make an exception or an extension for any student or group of students, because that's an advantage then that student has over the rest of the class. If I say to one student, yeah, you can have more time on this, then I'm preferentially treating one student over another, and that's what I don't want to do. I want to make sure that all students are treated in a fair and equal way. Okay? That being said, sometimes unexpected events do come up. Okay? Sometimes unexpected events do come up. So the soft deadline, the 29th, is when the assignment is due. The 29th is when the assignment is due. Okay? I start taking off late points on the 31st, the hard deadline. Okay? So you get a 2-day grace period here. You get a 48-hour grace period. That way, if someone says, well, I need an extension. I need an extension, or I need you to waive my late points because it's due on the 31st and I got into a car wreck on the 30th. My response to that is going to be, no, sorry, I can't give an extension because it's not due on the 31st. It's actually due on the 29th. You should have had it done by then. The time between the 29th and the 31st is simply a grace period. Okay, so if unforeseen circumstances happen, that's why we have a 48-hour grace period. That gives you a bit of buffer zone for those unexpected events. So plan on having assignments due by the soft deadline. Plan on having them turned in by the soft deadline. The hard deadline is just when the grace period expires. Okay, and that's when late points start. I cannot give any exception or any extension to the late penalty. That wouldn't be fair to your fellow classmates. So I mentioned that the day before an assignment is due, I'll have office hours by appointment only. That's what this day is. Okay, so between the soft deadline and the hard deadline, we have a Thursday here. That's appointment only lab time. Use that if you totally get stuck. And remember, you have to request an appointment 24 hours in advance, at least 24 hours or more, which means, what's that? The soft deadline. So the soft deadline is also the last time you can request an appointment to meet with me during appointment only office hours. Okay? So again, soft deadline, that's when the assignment is due. It's also the last time to request an appointment for office hours by appointment only. Okay? The day between the soft and the hard deadline, we have appointment only office hours. The hard deadline, that's when late penalties start. Okay? I mentioned 8 days before late penalties, we'll have Open Lab, and that would be this day right here, the 23rd. So the 23rd, you do not need an appointment. You'll probably let me know you're coming just in case, so I know I'm there. But you don't need an appointment. You don't need to send me questions in advance. You don't need to send me your project in advance. You don't even have to have started your project. You can just show up and start your project right there. That's fine. That's 8 days before the hard deadline. Okay? Soft deadline, appointment only office hours, hard deadline, and then open lab time. Okay, so you'll see if you look through this calendar, if we go to February, you'll see assignment 2, we have a soft deadline and then a hard deadline. Then we'll have appointment only office hours here, open office hours here. Assignment 3, soft deadline, hard deadline. Appointment only office hours, open office hours. Okay, so the first couple months of this semester, we're going to be working with individual assignments. After that, we're going to start getting into the group project. So for the group project, on March 6th, we're going to have our first iteration due. Okay? Our first iteration is due. Then what we're going to do is we're going to swap. Okay? So your group will take your group's assignment and swap with another group. And what you'll do is you will look at that other group's work and code review it. Code review is an excellent time to learn. Both you can learn from another group and another group can learn from you. You look at someone else's code and you make suggestions about it. Hey, I think you could make this more efficient, or there might be a null pointer exception here. Okay? So what we'll do is we'll trade then, and you'll get to analyze and make suggestions for another group, and another group will analyze and make suggestions on your own project. Then you'll want to integrate their suggestions, and the final project is due on April 10th, and then we'll have presentations on April 17th. I probably want to be careful, make sure you don't fall behind on this, because of course we have tax day coming up on the 15th. So that's what our schedule looks like for the semester. The calendar that you find on Blackboard under course documents, under tools and communications and then calendar, that's the official calendar of record for this course. And the reason for that is, well, first of all, it's just a central place to put information. The other reason is when we put it in the course calendar, it helps you remember what you need to do, because your calendar events will appear right here under my calendar on Blackboard. So when you log on, you can see the things that you have due, and you're less likely to forget. And that's good, because I want to make sure you get a good grade in this course. That's my goal for you, and hopefully that's your goal as well. Okay, academic integrity is something that I take very seriously. Again, I want all students to do very well in this course. I take no pleasure ever in failing a student or giving a student a D or anything like that. I want everybody to do well in this course. There is only one thing that I really take evil pleasure in, and that is catching cheating. Because in that case, I feel like somebody was trying to trick me, and I won, and I figured it out. So academic integrity I take very, very seriously. Now, in these days where we're encouraging people to share with each other, we have to set a definition of what academic integrity is. We have to set a line somewhere, because it's a gray area. You could say, well, I was just helping that person. It wasn't academic integrity. I was simply helping that person. So actually, no, this is something where we have to draw a line, and here is the line. You are always welcome to verbally coach somebody else. You're always welcome to give someone some verbal coaching, okay? But you can never duplicate any part of an assignment electronically. Even just a single line or maybe a class or something like that, that's what I define as cheating. Okay, so if I see two projects and I see that there's been some copying from one student to another, that's academic dishonesty. Now, what typically happens is one student who's usually a good student, usually the student who's a good performer in the class is done a little bit ahead of time, and another student's falling behind. So the student who's falling behind goes to the student who's doing well and says, hey, look, I'm a little bit behind. Can I just use yours as a reference? I mean, I'll do my own work, but can I use yours as a reference? Can you send me your project and I'll use it as a reference? That sounds innocent enough, right? I just need to use it as a framework. But I can guarantee you what happens then. The student who's falling behind, which is not you, by the way, you're the good student, you're the student who's ahead of the game. The student who's falling behind will take your work, put his or her name on it, and turn it in. Okay, so in that case, I treat it like the war on drugs, where I make no difference between the dealer and the buyer. Both the person who created the work initially and the person who stole the work are reported for academic dishonesty. And when that happens, a lot of times the person who did the work originally says, "Hey, that's not fair. I actually did this work. This is my work, and you failed me." And I'll come back and say, "No, it doesn't matter. If you have provided your work to somebody else, you're as guilty as the person who took your work and stole it." So be careful. When somebody says to you, "I just want to look at yours and use it as a reference," be very careful. Don't let that happen. Okay? Electronic communications. You'd think this one's obvious, but I've actually had issues with this in the past. As an IT student, I do expect you to read your email. All correspondence for this course must happen through your UC email. That is a regulation by the university to protect student privacy. So I can't talk to you through my personal email or any other email that I have. All communication has to happen through UC email. Similarly, I expect that you are able to check Blackboard frequently. Typically, if I have something important, I will make an announcement for it, and I will also send it via email. Keep your eye on announcements in case something goes wrong with the email. Okay. Special needs. If you do have special needs through the Office of Disability Services, certainly let me know as soon as possible, and I'll be more than happy to work with you on that. The quarter schedule, I used to post right here in the syllabus, but it kind of became redundant and out of date. The best place to see the quarter schedule is to go into Blackboard. So we're just going to refer to this. Let's go into Blackboard, and again, I'm going to choose our course, and what you will see is weekly modules, and that is what we're going to be studying each week. Now, I copied this from last semester, so I have a couple of tweaks I want to make still, but this is our weekly schedule. Okay, so when you go under weekly modules, you'll see what we're planning on covering each week. Just quickly, first couple weeks we'll be getting started, how to install our environment, things like that. We'll look at the Android lifecycle, intents and intent filters, async task for threading, connecting over a network, online-offline toggle and exceptions, SQLite, and preferences. So we have a busy semester ahead of us. We have a lot of things that we get to take a look at. Course evaluation. Again, this is the start of my 14th year at UC, and I've never seen a department as focused on evals as this department, which is great because that is how you ensure continuous improvement. Get feedback, find out what went well, what you can improve on, things like that. It's very, very important in this department. It's so important that our department head, Dr. Hazem Saeed, meets with every professor at the end of the semester to go over evaluations. So your evaluations are very important to me and also to the department head and to the department as a whole. So at the end of the semester, we will do a course evaluation on evaluation.uc.edu. The department's goal is to get 70% participation and have each item average 4.0 or greater. My personal goal is to get 85% participation, and I would like to average 4.8 or greater. So that's what I'm going for in each item. So if you are having any issues with my teaching style, the material, anything like that, I ask you a favor. Don't wait until the end of the semester. Okay, don't wait till the end of the semester to give me feedback. Go ahead and tell me what I can do to make things better for you. When it's a problem, when it's something that can be addressed. Give me a chance to address it. Let me know that it's an issue. Don't just say, "Oh, I don't like the way you did this, so I'm going to wait till the end of the semester and and give you bad review." I'd rather that you be happy. That's really what I want. I'd rather you get out of the course what you want. And the best way for that to happen is if you just let me know. And if I can work with it, then I certainly will. So now there are some qualifiers on that. I'll do what I can to improve the course for you and improve the learning experience. But I do have to make sure that all students are treated in a fair and equitable manner. So if you come to me and say, I turned in the project 3 days late, can I have an extension? That's something that I can't change, because if I give you an extension, I'm giving you preferential treatment over other students in the class. That's something that's off the that can't be changed. Similarly, if you say that you procrastinated, again, these are things that I can't change. But if there are things, if I'm speaking too quickly, which I tend to do, or if there's something that maybe you just didn't understand from the lecture and you want to meet with me one-on-one, if there are things I can do to make the learning process better, I'm certainly interested in doing that. So that's the syllabus. I'm gonna keep it there. I'm going to make a separate recording to talk about the next part of the syllabus, which are the service level agreements. So we'll cover that in a separate recording. The syllabus itself, though, remember quiz question suggestions. You can take a look at the syllabus. Think if you were to make a quiz out of this syllabus, what questions would be on that quiz? Go to Blackboard under Assignments and fill out quiz question suggestions and put some suggestions under there. Okay, the calendar is on Blackboard. The grading system is weekly quizzes 20%. We have 3 individual assignments and a code review for 40%, final project for 20%, then a midterm, kind of a late midterm for 20%. I think that pretty much covers it. So we'll go ahead and wrap up this lecture, and we will move on to the service level agreements in the next lecture. Thank you.